I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Hello and welcome tonight. Historic inauguration in the U.S. as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris take oath of office as the country's 46th President and Vice President amid security lockdown in Washington, D.C. President Buhari joins other world leaders in welcoming the inauguration of President Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris expresses hope of strong cooperation with the new administration. Protest erupts in Abuja after the enrollees for the National Identity Number accused NIMC officials of compromising the registration process. And at least 3 people killed, 8 others injured in an explosion caused by a suspected gas leak in the Spanish capital, Madrid. Plus we'll have business, sports, and later on international news from our London studios. On business news tonight, U.S. stock market closes higher with the S&P 500 at an all-time high as President Joe Biden is officially sworn in as the 46th president of the country.
And on sports news tonight, Manchester City beat Aston Villa at the Etihad to temporarily move top of the English Premier League for the first time this season.
And from Abuja, hearing begins in Akwa Ibom State in the case of alleged sexual abuse, starvation, and negligence of an 11-year-old student of Deeper Life High School, Uyo.
It's a new dawn in the United States following the change of government that has ushered in the Democratic Party back to the White House with Joe Biden in the saddle. The 78-year-old Biden is the oldest U.S. president in history. Another historic moment was witnessed today in the U.S. with the swearing-in of Kamala Harris as the first female vice president of the U.S. and the first person of color to occupy that position. All of that comes amid the raging COVID-19 pandemic, countries racing to roll out effective vaccines and to find a cure for the virus, as well as an effort that's challenged scientists around the world. Tonight we'll be looking at Nigeria's effort in finding a local solution to this health crisis. But let's begin in the United States, where Joe Biden today became the 46th president of the U.S. at a scaled-back ceremony in Washington, largely stripped of its usual pomp and pageantry. The low-key ceremony was due to both the coronavirus pandemic as well as security concerns following the January the 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol by supporters of the immediate past president, Donald Trump. History was also made today with the swearing-in of Kamala Harris as the first female vice president of the U.S. In his first address to the nation, President Biden praised the virtues of democracy, saying democracy has prevailed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the oath of office, followed by musical honors.
Traditionally, this is what a U.S. presidential inauguration looks like, but it's a little different this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic and threats of violence from pro-Trump supporters.
Gracious and merciful God, at this sacred time we come before you in need, indeed on our knees.
The office of President of the United States.
Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States on Wednesday during a ceremony held at the heavily protected U.S. Capitol, ending the tumultuous 4-year presidency of his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump.
So help you God, so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
In his speech, the new U.S. president says his inauguration is a celebration of democracy and that the will of the people has been heard.
This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious, democracy is fragile, and at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
He also called for peace, tolerance and reconciliation, even as he vows to be a president to all Americans.
Today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh, all of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, show respect to one another. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war.
Then a moment of silence for all the American citizens that have lost their lives to the COVID-19 pandemic, and a promise that this too shall pass.
This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Earlier, Vice President Kamala Harris was also sworn into office, becoming the first woman, the first black person, and the first Asian American to hold the office.
So help me God.
In attendance at the ceremony were three former presidents, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush, who were all accompanied by their wives. Also, immediate U.S. Vice President Mike Pence witnessed the inauguration. All living former presidents gathered to witness the peaceful transfer of power, but former President Donald Trump made the decision not to take part in this tradition.
Our Washington correspondent Maria Bird joins us now. Hi, Maria. Historic day indeed it's been today. I can see you beaming there with a smile, but what can you tell us about his first day in office? We saw him making his way to the White House not long ago. He's probably there now. What can you tell us now?
You know, it is quite amazing to just feel the energy, whether or not people are on the mall or they are at their homes in Washington, in their communities throughout the country. This is a magical day. I'll tell you, I reported for channels when President Obama was in office and his farewell. I remember that. And this is that type of magical moments that you felt during that administration. And so I think what it means more than anything to Americans is really, it's about the unity. I think that we heard that several times as I heard you all playing clips of the inauguration, several times about the unity and bringing the people together. One noted piece is Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, was wearing purple as a way to blend the red and the blue together. And so this is really all about unity. And I think that you talk about day one and what's going to happen today. We've seen they've already gone to sign the proclamations. They've already done all the very traditional ceremonial pieces, going to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, the inaugural parade down to the White House. And we know the executive orders will be signed today. And so as President Biden already has tweeted, there's no time to waste. It's time to get to work. And so I think that is going to be what we're going to see from this administration, is that there's no time to waste. I think they are looking to not rush things, but they're looking to have a change for the American people and to ensure that all Americans are treated in a way that I think that is most respected and is highlighted in our Constitution.
Yeah, Maria, we heard President Biden say that America will engage with the world once again. What are the early feelers you're hearing about that already? Different, the countries and presidents are pouring in their congratulations, but from their perspective, what early feelers do you hear from President Biden now?
Well, in the beginning, he's addressing immigration. He's going to address some of the various treaties that the U.S. has left over the last 4 years. He will be making those number one on the list of things that he will be moving forward on. And so I think that he has always been, if you look at the his work prior to being president, he's always been that one that has been that bridge builder. And so I think that for the world, you're going to see him. I mean, a lot of times you'll see the vice presidents or the secretary of states going out to the world and the global community, but I think he's going to be that one because of his long history and long ability to be able to bridge gaps and to bring people together.
All right, thanks a lot for your reporting, Maria. Keep your eye on it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has welcomed the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, expressing hope that their presidency will mark a strong point of cooperation and support for Nigeria, as well as Africa. In a statement, the president said, "We look forward to the Biden presidency with great hope and optimism for strengthening of existing cordial relationships, working together to tackle global terrorism, climate change, poverty, and improvement of economic ties and expansion of trade." According to the statement, the president and all Nigerians rejoice with the new leadership in America, particularly celebrating the first female vice president who has African and Asian ancestry. President Buhari's congratulations come as those from other world leaders poured in as well. The French President Emmanuel Macron declared his best wishes on the most significant day for the American people, while the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, offered his best wishes to President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris as they strive to heal their country and lead the American people out of the pandemic. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sent his congratulations, saying America's leadership is vital on issues that matter to Britain. And the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, congratulated the new president, saying the two countries have tackled some of history's greatest challenges together and is looking forward to continuing the partnership with Biden and Harris. In the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated President Biden, saying he hoped to confront shared challenges, including the threat posed by Iran, speaking of which the Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has urged the incoming U.S. administration to return to a 2015 nuclear agreement and lift sanctions on Tehran. Americans have got a new president today, and there's a lot of expectation on him already. First, to unite a country divided on political issues and the coronavirus pandemic, and once again, the economy. Here's a look at what lies ahead for the new president of the United States.
Joe Biden plans to sign dozens of executive orders and send sweeping bills to Congress on his first days in office, aiming to roll back some of Donald Trump's signature policies on immigration and climate change while taking action to ramp up the government's response to the coronavirus crisis. He is expected to seek a $1.9 trillion spending proposal aimed at accelerating the distribution of coronavirus vaccines while providing economic relief to millions of Americans hurt by the pandemic, and impose a mask-wearing requirement on all federal property, planes and buses.
Look, our plan is as clear as it is bold. Get more people vaccinated for free. Create more places for them to get vaccinated. Mobilize more medical teams to get the shots in people's arms. Increase supply and get it out the door as soon as possible. This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts ever undertaken by our country. But you have my word that we will manage the hell out of this operation.
He is also expected to bring the United States back into the Paris Climate Agreement, the global pact forged 5 years ago among nearly 200 nations to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. On immigration, Joe Biden is expected to repeal the ban on almost all travel from some Muslim-majority countries and send to Congress a sweeping immigration bill that could legalize millions of immigrants living in the United States without legal permission. He is also expected to reinstate the program allowing dreamers, people who were brought to the United States illegally as children, to remain in the country. Outside the United States, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he's looking forward to working with Joe Biden on their shared priorities.
I look forward to working with him and with his new administration, strengthening the partnership between our countries and working on our shared priorities, from tackling climate change, building back better from the pandemic, and strengthening our transatlantic security.
Protecting democracy and rule of law.
The European Union also hailed Joe Biden's inauguration as a new dawn for Europe and the United States.
This new dawn in America is the moment we've been waiting for so long. Europe is ready for a new start with our oldest and most trusted partner. And this is why the Commission recently has adopted a new forward-looking transatlantic agenda. And it focuses on where we can together join forces to push for global change based on our common values, interests, and global influence. From climate change to health, from digitalization to democracy, these are global challenges that need renewed and improved global cooperation. And the European Union and the United States must lead from the front and bring an alliance of like-minded partners with us.
The EU and the United States are the world's top trading powers, along with China. The EU and the U.S. also have close cultural, historical, business and defense ties, but President Donald Trump sought to sideline the EU while championing Britain's departure from the bloc.
In part 2, after the break, we bring you an update on the ongoing NIN registration and more on the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as U.S. President and Vice President. I will have that when we come back. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Historic inauguration in the U.S. as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris take oath of office as the country's 46th president and vice president amid security lockdown in Washington, D.C. President Buhari joins other world leaders in welcoming the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, expresses hope of strong cooperation with the new administration. Protests erupt in Abuja after the enrollees for the National Identity Number accused NIMC officials of compromising the registration process. And at least 3 people killed, 8 others injured in an explosion caused by a suspected gas leak in the Spanish capital, Madrid. Let's get more insight about the historic day today it's been in the U.S. And joining us now is Nigeria's Consul General to New York, Ben Okoyan. He joins us from New York. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
The political transition in the United States has been keenly watched around the world. It's been watched here in Nigeria as well. Just how significant is it for the world to see this happen seamlessly?
Well, it is very important that the citizens of the United States of America see to the success of the transition, because it signals a new phase in their life. And not only the citizens of the United States of America, for other world leaders are also have a stake in what happens in America. So that is why it is considered very important for everyone, and there must be peace, and because peace is what every leader will want to advocate at any point in time.
All right, let's look at how important it is for us here in Nigeria. The president has offered his congratulations to the new administration, and listening to that speech there, he said he hopes that it will mark a strong point of cooperation with the U.S. What areas do you think we can leverage on in looking at the new administration coming in?
Well, there are so many areas, like President Muhammad Buhari has said. We are very hopeful that our relationship with the U.S. government will improve on several fronts, and the multilateral and the bilateral aspect of it. Particularly, we are looking up to the U.S. to support the majority decision of member states of the WTO of our candidate, Mrs. Dr. Inaugural, for the position of the Director General of WTO. And in the area of security, in the area of fight for terrorism and trade and investment, these are all fronts that the Nigerian government expects a robust and improved relationship with the United States of America. So it is key that what happened here is taken seriously, and Nigeria will position itself to engage robustly with the new government. And these are the hopes we have, and many other things, not only in the United States of America plan to align with their borders, but in Africa, Latin America, every leader in this wise expects that United States of America engage robustly in this new administration.
Yeah, you spoke about hope there, and oftentimes a change in power means a change in foreign policy. We saw similar hope when former President Obama was sworn in, and here the hope is here again. Do you see that playing out differently this time, looking at what Nigeria-U.S. relations were when the Obama administration came in, comparing that to now?
Well, the government changes, but the interests of different countries remain the same. So it is left for Nigeria to realign and engage actively and to get what we want from this government. I think that we have hope. We hope that in terms of issues that are affecting Nigeria at the moment, several points in terms of restriction ban, visa restriction, and other areas that we have been placed on certain band. We look forward to moving up us away from some of those restricted areas. So it is left for Nigeria to put their house in order, to engage actively. So we have to do more work in terms of using our friends. Particularly at this point, I'd like to thank the Biden administration for appointing 3 Nigerians into his administration already, and even in their legislation, we have some Nigerians who were locally elected in office. So Nigeria have a lot of opportunity to engage with all of these personalities and other friends to favor us in what we do. I want to also thank the Biden administration for commending for nominating Linda Thomas-Greenfield as U.S. new ambassador to the UN, who has been an African ambassador, Nigerian American who has served as U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. He's a friend of Nigeria. He's a new dawn. We think that we can engage properly and to our advantage, and we think this will be a better hope for us.
All right, Nigeria's Consul General to New York, Ben Okoyem, thanks for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
Away from the Biden presidency for a minute, the Kubwa Center for the National Identity Number Registration today turned to a protest ground as prospective enrollees expressed their displeasure over the absence of the NIMC officials for the process. The crowd complained about the untold hardship they've had to endure over the past few weeks. Among the protesters are people living with disabilities who say their plight should be taken into consideration.
This is not a political rally, but a protest by prospective enrollees of the National Identity Number in Kubwa, a satellite town in the nation's capital. Men, women, students, and even the physically challenged besieged the center in anger. Their reason is the non-availability of officials deployed for the registration exercise. An official of NIPOST, where the registration center is located, narrates how the protest started.
They started writing names, and all of a sudden, the NIMC people could not control the crowd again. They have to disappear. They ran away from the office, leaving NIPOST staff inside the office. But once they see that the gate was locked, they were now flying the fence.
When the crowd came in here, they spent to disperse the crowd. The military man came in and started beating the people. From there up to today, no single person among here had been caught. No single person from this crowd had been registered.
Many of the enrollees are not wearing face masks, and obviously no physical distancing is being observed. The enraged crowd accuses the officials of extortion.
They always collect bribe. They beat, they slapped an old woman today. Government people are not trying.
The physically challenged are not left out. Their story is the same.
1 week we come here now, and we were not allowed to enter here. See, we are disability. How go follow these people to enter here? No way.
This center, however, is calm and peaceful. While this enrollee says his SIM has not been blocked after the expiration of the January 19th deadline for those with NIN, he also tells a story of extortion.
They asked me I should give them money. I don't have money to give them. They say if I didn't give them money, they will not do it for me. I don't have money to give anybody. And they had my money in my account on December. They said I should go and bring my NIN number. I quit if I didn't bring it. They won't give me money. And right now, I don't have money in my pocket.
The National Identity Management has consistently said no enrollee should pay for registration. With about 3 weeks to the last deadline for registration, many expect that the Commission would look into these loopholes that have trailed the registration process.
When the News at 10 returns, hearing begins in the Akwa Ibom State case of alleged sexual abuse, starvation, and negligence of an 11-year-old student of Deeper Life High School, Uyo. Do join us again. Welcome back to the News at 10. The Nigeria Police Force says in spite of the many security challenges the country faces, it's done quite well in tackling insecurity. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredoluwale, against the background of recent events involving alleged shooting of civilians by vigilantes such as Amotekun, that even though the police works with some vigilante groups, they are not supposed to carry arms.
The Nigeria Police did very, very well, 2019-2020, because remember when we came there was these issues of banditry and kidnapping. Abuja-Kaduna Road was a problem, and apart from the insurgency that is being successfully dealt with in the Northeast, North Central was also there were issues in North Central in terms of farmer herders conflicts and even kidnapping. And we re-strategized, created an Operation Pobada. We retrained our special forces. We identified police officers that had been in theater of war in the Northeast before they went and came back. And we retrained them and sent them to the field. So we were able to succeed in bringing down to a very low level kidnapping and banditry. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria indicates that there should be only one police force. Therefore, we have the Nigeria Police Force. Any other organizations or any other arrangement that deals with prevention of crime, passing information, creating intelligence, is just supporting the activities of the Nigeria Police. Before the Amotekun you are talking about, many states have created the vigilantes in order to support the Nigeria Police personnel to do their job. And what do? Vigilantes created in every state, whether you call it a vigilante or you call it forest guard or you call it gate guards or a motokun or whatever. They are all vigilante groups that are supposed to be working within the communities, generate intelligence or fast information to the police, and when there is an imminent threat to security within the area, the police will go and intervene with the support of this vigilante group so as to nip on the bud the impending problem. So their work is to support the police, but they are not supposed to carry arms.
For the full interview with the Inspector General of Police, do watch Newsnight on Monday, January the 25th at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Terry Ikumi. Terry.
Hello, Ejima. Welcome to Abuja. Hearing has begun at the Uyo Magistrate Court in the case of alleged sexual abuse, starvation and negligence instituted by the parents of Don Davis Archibong, an 11-year-old student of Deeper Life High School Uyo campus, against the principal, 4 other staff and 2 students of the school. The 7 accused persons are facing a 4-count charge bordering on sexual molestation, maltreatment, starvation and negligence. The trial was held behind closed doors while the media was barred from observing the proceedings because counsel to both the petitioner and the school say it is a juvenile court where the privacy of those involved must be protected. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has adjourned hearing of the bail application filed by the former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Mr. Abdurrashid Maina, to February the 1st, 2021. The trial judge, Justice Okuna Bang, while adjourning the case shortly after counsel in the matter announced appearances, said it is not convenient for the courts to hear the bail application today. Mr. Maina had filed a bail application on December the 24th, 2020. Predicated on grounds of deteriorating health, which requires urgent medical attention. In the motion and notice, the defendant has outlined 4 issues for consideration by the court, one of which was his collapse in open court on December the 10th, 2020, due to his deteriorating health. He also stated that he has responsible sureties who are ready to stand for him if granted bail. The outbreak of coronavirus in 2019 challenged scientists around the world to find a cure or stop its spread through the use of potent vaccines. And in less than a year, the World Health Organization approved the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. This is besides several other efforts by countries in Asia, Europe, Africa, and other parts of the world to either find a cure or a vaccine for the virus. Our next report examines local efforts towards COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing in Nigeria.
1.5 hospitals here.
Vaccines are usually products of a long-term research by medical scientists. Sometimes it takes years of preclinical and clinical trials before a vaccine is approved for public use. The outbreak of coronavirus in 2019 and its unprecedented infection and fatality rate no doubt challenged scientists from around the world to put up their thinking caps fast and find a solution to the pandemic. And in less than 1 year, several vaccines have been approved for emergency use. The vaccines so far approved include Pfizer-BioNTech, AstraZeneca and Sinopharm. Locally too, the Nigerian government says it is making efforts towards finding a vaccine for the virus. Only 2 days ago, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 announced the release of 10 billion naira for local production of vaccines.
The Ministry of Finance has released 10 billion naira to support domestic vaccine production. While we are working to develop our own vaccines, Nigeria is exploring options of licensed production. We are in discussion with 1 or 2 producers already through the government's own BioVaccine Limited.
The The process of manufacturing a vaccine goes far beyond the announcement of a funding arrangement. It requires strong leadership and commitment of the government and scientists. But does Nigeria have the capacity to produce vaccines for COVID-19?
It is a great thing that Pfizer has eventually got that through. But we also know before the Pfizer was Russian vaccine. Now we should be talking of Nigerian vaccine. But the truth is that there's nothing on ground to suggest that we are ready. It is very, very painful that we have so many intelligent people that could leverage on this. But I think probably we are not carrying a good message to government. You see, it requires a lot of investment. In terms of capacity development, you have to train people. It's not just enough. You have to train people. You have to provide the conducive environment. You have to have the equipment. Even the environment for the vaccine preparation for the clinical trial is such that we are not ready.
This is the Nigeria Institute of Medical Research in Lagos, an institution that once spearheaded the manufacturing of vaccines for yellow fever and measles some 3 decades ago. Many believe that given the needed funding and partnership, this institution and others like it can produce vaccines for killer diseases including the ravaging coronavirus.
All right, let's talk some more on the local production of vaccines with Honorable Minister of State for Health, Senator Olorunibe Mamora. Honorable Minister, welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
All right, quickly now, Honorable Minister, what are some of the current efforts that Nigeria is putting into local production of vaccines?
Well, I will be talking generally about local production of vaccines. And you recall that some time ago, we had this signing of a kind of joint venture agreement, under the aegis of Bio-Vaccine Nigeria Limited. It's a JV venture, joint venture between federal government and a local or indigenous company, pharmaceutical company. And the initial thing for that, or what really prompted that, was for us to be able to establish what you can call vaccine security and sustainability, particularly with respect to the childhood vaccine preventable diseases like polio, tetanus, measles, and all that. So, but now we're talking of COVID vaccines. And I can assure you that not less than 3-4 groups, they have made very, very substantial, significant progress in the capacity to make local vaccines for COVID-19. So government decided to provide a kind of seed fund to support, this local effort. And vaccine production is not something that you can do in a jiffy like that.
Okay, let's talk about the seed fund that you said the government has provided. You also mentioned that about 4 groups have come forward for the production of this now. That 10 billion naira which the government has earmarked for this now, who will benefit from the fund and what's the process?
Well, the various groups that are putting in place, efforts will have to come forward with where they are, what they have done, and then, of course, what kind of support. And you already have in place, we have in place a committee that will do the evaluation and then make recommendation as to which of them really has the capacity or is promising. So because we want to be sure that at the end of the day, whatever you inject will be such that you will have good returns.
Very well, then, Honorable Minister, I'd like to say thank you so much for coming on the News at 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, Well, that's it from Abuja. Up next is Business News with Ann Waodo.
Thank you, Terry. Welcome to Business News. U.S. stock market indexes have risen today to record levels after sustaining the rebound from the previous session as Mr. Joe Biden, the president now, is sworn into office as the 46th president of the world's most industrialized country. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 300 points to a fresh high of 31,188.38. The S&P 500 climbed 1.5% to an all-time high of 3,851.85, led by communication services sector, while the Nasdaq Composite jumped 2.1% to a record 13,457.25. The latest feat is coming as global investors remain hopeful that the 78-year-old Democrats' $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief plan will support the recovery of the economy and strengthen earnings growth. On Tuesday, President Biden's designated nominee for Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also endorsed higher and spending and urged lawmakers to act big. The African Development Bank and the European Investment Bank have signed a joint action plan which is aimed at boosting public and private sector investment right here in Africa. Now, that agreement was signed today by the acting senior vice president of the AFDB, Babaji Bilil, and the European Investment Bank vice president during a virtual ceremony after a roundtable meeting between the two senior management members and representatives from both financial institutions. The joint partnership, which was developed in February 2020, enables both institutions to grow a shared pipeline of bankable projects around key complementary themes such as transformative large-scale infrastructure investment, climate action, and environmental sustainability, financial inclusion targeted at women empowerment, as well as others. And the domestic stock market has closed midweek trading session with moderate rebound from profit taking recorded in the last two sessions. Investors are, of course, expanding their bargain hunting for stocks by a wide margin. Let's hear the details from Teniola Shubowali.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Activities at the stock market picked up from the downturn recorded in the last two sessions this week after investors intensified bargain hunting interest for listed equities. With that bellow, the bull charged its way back into the local equities market with a 0.23% increase on the all-share index, tossing its rival, the bearish side, with positive sentiment from 55 gainers against 16 losers. Well, take a look at the sectoral activity charts. Green arrows dominated all the counters except the banking sector, which fell by 0.23%, and this is largely because profit-taking took its toll on the shares of GT Bank, while the 0.5% loss on Dangote's share price had no effect on the industrial goods counter. It turns out that the equities market is moving in line with traders' expectation for a rally in the upcoming sessions, as investors will be seeking higher returns, which is currently not available at the fixed income market. Added to this will be release of fourth quarter and full year corporate earnings results later this month. Well, for now, let's keep our fingers crossed for the outcome. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Teniola Shubowale.
And that's Business News tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Ann Nwawadu. It's back to you, Joma.
Thanks a lot, Anne. 3 people have died following an explosion that brought down part of a building in the Spanish capital, Madrid. Here's Simon Puzzi with more international news, beginning with Joe Biden's inauguration.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. After 4 tumultuous years, the United States has a new president, with Joe Biden taking over from Donald Trump.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
The inauguration saw unprecedented security with around 25,000 troops guarding Washington after the storming of the U.S. Capitol building on January the 6th. Mr. Trump did not attend the ceremony and earlier left the White House for the last time.
Have a good life. We will see you soon.
Thank you.
He then touched down for a presidential send-off from Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. He is the first president to ever be impeached twice and now faces a trial in the Senate. If convicted, he could be barred from ever holding public office again. Before leaving office, Mr. Trump pardoned his former senior advisor, Steve Bannon. Mr. Bannon had been indicted on charges of fraud for misusing money that he had helped raise for a group backing Mr. Trump's border wall, but has not gone to trial yet. The pardon by the president effectively wipes away any convictions and prison sentences. Mr. Trump also issued another 73 pardons and 70 commutations to a roster that includes rappers, financiers, and former members of Congress. Tunisian protesters have clashed with police for the fifth consecutive night in several cities across the country as anger and frustration mounts over increasing economic hardships. The clashes are led by mainly young demonstrators, as a third of Tunisia's young people are unemployed. Since Friday, protest groups that are growing in size by the day have been out in force every night, and they've been throwing Molotov cocktails, looting, vandalizing and clashing with police. The protests are happening almost exactly 10 years after the Tunisian revolution that triggered the Arab Spring revolts across the region. Jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has released a video investigation into the construction and alleged slush fund behind what is known as Putin's palace. Mr. Navalny and his team have said that the £1 billion private residence on Russia's Black Sea coast is the biggest bribe in the world. They claim to have uncovered a scheme by which money for its construction was funneled into offshore accounts by Mr. Putin's associates as payment for lucrative state contracts he had handed to them over the years. The complex near the resort town of Gelendzhik has long been rumoured to belong to the Russian president. However, the Kremlin has denied that Mr. Putin owns a palace in the town. India has started exporting coronavirus vaccines with a shipment to the neighbouring Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. Many low and middle-income countries have been relying on India, the world's biggest vaccine maker, for supplies to start COVID-19. However, the state-developed Bharat Biotech vaccine, called Covaxin, has been at the centre of controversy after the Indian government allowed its use without concrete data showing its effectiveness in preventing COVID-19. However, India will initially ship only the AstraZeneca vaccine, made by the Serum Institute of India, the world's biggest vaccine maker, under the name Covishield. Residents of the ancestral Indian village of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris have been celebrating her inauguration. Silasendrapuram, a village around 200 kilometers south of the city of Chennai, is where Harris's maternal grandfather was born more than a century ago. Many villagers were seen holding photographs of Ms. Harris while celebrating with firecrackers. Posters of the first female U.S. vice president ever were put up around the village. And finally, scientists in China might have found a way to reverse the effects of aging and extend lifespan. A new gene therapy has been tested on mice, which have shown after 6 to 8 months improved appearance and more strength, and most importantly, they have extended their lifespan by about 25%. The hope is to be able to test the method on primates next, but it will require a lot of funding and much more research before then. And that's your international news around the world in 5, and now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Hello and welcome to Sports News. We start with football. Kwara United beat visiting Enyimba International 1-0 in a rescheduled Nigeria Professional League game played at the Kwara Sports Complex in Lorry earlier this evening. It was the second win of the season for the Lorry-based team in 5 games. Manchester United are back at the top of the English Premier League as they currently lead Fulham by 2-1 with just a few minutes left to play. Ademola Lookman had handed Fulham an early lead as early as the 5th minute of play. As Cavani leveled up on the 21st minute, Paul Pogba made it 2-1 on the 65th minute of the second half. To tennis, a top tennis coach, Daniel Valverde, says players at the Australian Open are frustrated with being unable to train as they usually do, but understanding the quarantine rules are necessary in Melbourne. A total of 10 people associated with the Grand Slam, including 4 players, have now tested positive for the virus. That's Sports News. Ijama, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Olumide. And the main news again. It was a historic moment today in the U.S. as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris took their oaths of office as the country's 46th president and vice president amid a security lockdown in Washington, D.C. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Unyato. Good night.